Hello, ladies and gents. Proclamation News and Gavin. Monday, 7th. Welcome on board. Just going live on air. Live on air like just don't care, ladies and gents. Thank you all for coming in, joining Proclamation News and Gavin's. It's with the prodigious Professor at PNG. Flux with the flow and flux with the show. Think safety, think first. Do not enter the vehicle under the influence of alcoholism, narcotics, sleep deprivation. Checking your engine oil, water coolant tank, make sure it's topped up to maximum level. Make sure you're MOT, taxed, insured, got a driving license. Make sure you and passengers on board have seatbelts adjacent to the car seat. And babies have car seats, adapters adjacent to the car seat with seat belts as well. Checking for further police instructions, further road safety signs. Be vigilant around road workers. See road worker sign, be vigilant, because the road worker might be from leering from behind the fence. Check your centre or wing mirror before acting into a safe, sufficient directional choice. Just going to check what's ahead of us on the UK car incidents today. Southend, A129, traffic congestion, travel time. Traffic congestion on A129 High Street both ways around A1015 Eastwood Road. Congestion to Crown Hill. Travel time is 10 minutes. It's reported at 8 o'clock. A406 partially blocked due to early vehicle fire on A406 North Circular northbound for A118 Ilford flyover. Congestion to Barking flyover and a little slow southbound. Traffic is coping well. Started around 8:30 with traffic blocked. Southwest Upton Kingston up times. A312 traffic signal failure. A312 Hampton Road west at A314 Hounslow Road after accident. 5:28 this morning. Looking central London. Woolwich Ferry. There's always problems going on here. Vehicle ferry not operating due to strike action on Woolwich Ferry in East London. Strike action plan for Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays until the end of March when operating. A reduced boat service will run from 7 till 6 Monday till Saturday until further notice. Come look a bit further afield, Norwich. A146 slow traffic due to accident A146 London Road both ways between the street and back lane. 9:58 a.m. Kettering, last incident of the day. A509 slow traffic A509 Kettering Road both ways around Station Road in the construction area. Thank you for tuning in. We've got quite a lot to get through actually. Durham Police clear Sir Keir Starmer breaking coronavirus rules. Durham Police has cleared Sir Keir Starmer for breaking COVID lockdown rules after he was filmed drinking a beer in the office of a Durham MP. The footage of the Labour leader was taken in the run-up to the Hartlepool by-election in April 2021. Sir Keir has previously insisted it was at a work meeting and had not broken the guidance. Durham Police says it has reviewed the video footage and will take no further action. A spokesman said, "We do not believe an offence has been established in relation to the legislation or the guidance in place at the time." Sir Keir has been critical of the Prime Minister following allegations he attended events in Number 10 during coronavirus lockdown. Metropolitan Police is currently investigating 12 gatherings held in Downing Street and Whitehall. Still ongoing, the old not going to let it go, are they? not going to let it go. Not going to let it go. Number 10 set for more changes at PM6 to calm MPs. Boris Johnson is set to make further changes to his Downing Street team this week as he seeks to ease concerns of MPs who are wavering about his future. The shake-up comes amid the fallout from the initial findings of the Sue Gray report into events at Number 10 while COVID restrictions were in place. Several Tory backbenchers have called Mr Johnson to resign and have submitted letters of no confidence. The Prime Minister has promised his MPs there would be a change in how Number 10 operates. Asked if he had confidence in the Prime Minister, Health Secretary said Javid said absolutely 100%, adding that despite the challenges, and of course there are many, this Prime Minister is delivering. On Saturday, Mr Johnson announced 2 senior appointments to his backroom following staff a string of resignations last week. Cabinet Office Minister Stephen Barclay is taking over as Chief of Staff, while former Johnson aide Guatu Harry has started as Director of Communications. Mr Harry was spotted arriving at Number 10 on Monday morning and asked by reporters what his first task of the day would be. He said he would give healthy snacks and mineral waters to staff, waving a shopping bag at the cameras. They are expected to be new staff appointments, and some ministers will share some of the existing responsibilities of Mr Barclay, who retains his ministerial position. At least one of current advisor, Henry Newman, will be moved out to Number 10 and into a new role in the government. The Prime Minister is also thought to be looking to appoint a new Chief Whip, the person in charge of the party discipline, and he is understood to have held the discussion with senior figures to try to persuade them to take up the post. Senior backbencher Tom Tuggenall, who has said he would run in any contest for the leadership, told BBC4 Today programme the party should wait and see how the changes panned out before making any decisions on Mr Johnson's future. This is a decision clearly for 360 or so members of Parliament, and let's see where it goes to. But I think the point remains that we've got to be looking at the future, he added. This is a time when we need to be really focused on what the politics is actually here for, and that's helping others and not getting into some sort of personal psychodrama. Mr Johnson spent the weekend at his country retreat. Chequers called some of his colleagues over the weekend to try and persuade them of all the significance of his changes. He faced a turbulent few weeks amid allegations of parties at Downing Street. The Metropolitan Police announced an investigation into 12 of those criticisms after making a false claim that Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer failed to prosecute Jimmy Savile. The latter led Number 10 policy chief Mona Mersey to resign, while other 4 aides, including his Chief of Staff and Private Secretary, also resigned last week. Her replacement in the Policy Unit, Tory MP Andrew Griffiths, has written a piece of the Conservative Home website outlining his priorities, including taking the NHS backlog and dealing with the cost of living crisis. He added, so long as the public see that we are focused on them and their needs rather than fighting amongst themselves, I believe they will continue to place their trust in us. It is time for we Conservatives to unite to support the Prime Minister and to get on with the job. But several Conservative MPs have handed in letters of no confidence in the PM, including former Minister Nick Gibb, with 54 needing to trigger a vote on his leadership. It comes as Mr Johnson's wife, Carrie, has said she is a target of a brutal briefing campaign by his enemies. After a book alleged she influences the Prime Minister's decision-making, how could the Conservatives change leader? don't think it'd be a good idea if they did change leader, to be honest. Who are they going to put in his place? Anyway, let's go a quick break. I'm going to share these, as you know, I'll share these incidents live on Twitter. So just bear with me a few moments. It's Queen's Jubilee yesterday, just so you know.
For my emotion, my love of the salute, that's gone.
Okay, that's
absolutely grown out of me over time, for sure.
No, that's interesting. That's the kind of institutionalised deference, isn't it? And you know,
yes.
Fighting for Queen and country in your case, you could do it. But fighting for country, you could do it. But fighting for the next fella and country, it would be 100% country and 0% king.
Yes. I did it so that there could be punk rockers, so people could be anarchists and paint their hair and be anti this and that. That's what I fought for. Not so they all have to be like me.
Oh, I like so freedom, genuine freedom of expression. Genuine. Oh, thank you. In that case, I love that analysis of what you thought you were defending, what you thought you were championing. And I guess, you know, looking around, despite the beginning of this conversation and what we're currently enduring, we are in a better place than a lot of other countries in the world. Certainly a lot of other countries historically that have had royal families. Phil, thank you. It's coming up to 11 o'clock. I'll tell you why that was a lovely hour of radio. You didn't just talk about Carlton, Camilla and the Queen. We brought in all sorts of other things. Phil even brought in Brexit. Don't you just hate people who bring Brexit into everything? You say, I mean, honestly, seriously, that ship has sailed. Phil, get over it, you lost. The point being, of course, that it's more nuanced than the question I ask you allows. And I mention that because the next question I'm going to ask you is ostensibly not very nuanced at all, but it can be. And it does involve this absolutely appalling joke that Jimmy Carr has made about gypsy people killed in the Holocaust. And I'm going to ask you what you think about it, but I will begin inevitably by telling you what I think about it after this.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation, this is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 11 o'clock, analysis suggests 300,000 people were unable to see a cancer specialist within 2 weeks of an urgent referral between April and November last year. It's the highest number of breaches in the 11 years since the 2-week target to see an oncologist was introduced. Labour, which commissioned the research, says it shows cancer care is in crisis. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, says he has a range of plans to help recover from the effects of the pandemic.
That includes a new call for evidence to have a 10-year plan for cancer, where we're going to see much more work on prevention, diagnosis, early diagnosis, but also new treatment. So I want to use some of the new things that we've learned about during the pandemic for a benefit, and that's the new technology that we're using on vaccines to see if we can do more for perhaps even some vaccines for cancer, but certainly more treatments.
Mr. Javid has denied reports that a plan to tackle the backlog across the NHS in England has been delayed because of a funding row. Ministers had been expected to publish details of a strategy to reduce the waiting list for routine care, which stands at around 6 million patients. A 4-year-old girl has died and a 3-year-old boy remains in a critical condition after a collision on the M4 in South Wales. Rebecca Miles reports from our newsroom in Cardiff.
When police say the 2 children were taken to hospital along with 2 adults after a collision between a car and a van on the M4 in Newport on Saturday. The woman's in a stable condition and the man has been released. Officers have now charged a 41-year-old man, the driver of the van, with causing death by dangerous driving and 2 offences of causing serious injury by dangerous driving.
Emmanuel Macron is heading to Moscow to meet Vladimir Putin in the latest attempt to de-escalate the Ukraine crisis. The French president, who will also visit Kiev, says he is very worried by the situation on the ground. Football associations in the UK and the Republic of Ireland have agreed not to bid for the 2030 World Cup. It follows a feasibility study looking at the costs and the economic impact of holding the tournament. They'll instead focus on a joint bid to host Euro 2028. In the city a short time ago, the FTSE 100 was trading up 14 at 75.31. The pound buys €1.18 and $1.34. And the weather, some sunny spells in places, but starting to cloud over from the west. Outbreaks of rain then moving across western, central and northern areas through the day. A high of 13 Celsius. From Global's newsroom, I'm Thomas Watt.
Oh no, now what do I do?
Indicators on, go left at the next junction. Go left by that emergency zone. Go left, don't forget your phone. Go left out the passenger door.
If your car breaks down on the motorway, remember one thing: go left. Search Go Left. National Highways.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with James O'Brien.
It's 3 minutes after 11, and in many ways, here we are again. The comedian has made a joke that is simultaneously appalling and indefensible when viewed entirely in the context of the short clip featuring the joke, which I will now play to you now with that warning. In fact, I'll begin by telling you something Stuart Lee told me not long ago. So Stuart Lee, who I think you might see as the antithesis of Jimmy Carr in a way, and for the record, I find them both extremely funny. I think David Baddiel said something very interesting about this, and it's really made me wonder whether I'm already in a jumble on this one. Let's begin with the clip of what he said, but with a caveat that when I went to see Stuart Lee recently, he was very, very strong on the question of people filming. Now, this is a Netflix special, so you've got no.
Just like quiet now. Don't like this. They've got the same political values or views, but I like listening to him. And I give PM time and space to deliver. Said quasi-quarantine. That's what I should say. That's exactly what I should do. Exactly what that says on the tin. The business secretary has appealed to his party to give Boris Johnson the time and space to deliver on the government's promises as pressure continues to mount on his leadership. The Prime Minister had another difficult week with a critical report into number 10 lockdown parties and 5 senior aides quitting. More Tory MPs also declared publicly they had no confidence in him. But quasi-quarantine said the PM was carrying out his commitment for a reset in number 10 and focused on policies. And he told the BBC Sunday morning programme the ongoing focus on Partygate is not helping anyone. Former Tory leader Sir Ian Duncan Smith also told the programme he believed Mr Johnson should stay in his role as the Prime Minister is the one that has to sort this out, adding he bears the overall responsibility. And he warned other MPs who could be Vivian for a leadership bid to temper their ambition. But Sir Ian said the government must do more to tackle the cost of living crisis and restore the sense there is a government they can trust and respect. The turmoil in Mr Johnson's government has led to growing questions from Conservatives about the PM's future. On Monday, Sue Gray's initially findings about parties held in Down Street during the COVID lockdown said there had been failures of leadership and judgment. More details also expected to come out as part of a Metropolitan Police investigation into 12 of the gatherings. The PM also faced criticism and distancing of some of his ministers after making false claims about Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer failed to prosecute Jimmy Savile when he was Director of the Public Prosecutions. This was followed up by a string of resignations of senior aides, 3 of whom were caught up in lockdown parties, includes senior civil servant Martin Reynolds, who sent out an invitation to bring your own booze party. Bring one of his longest-standing colleagues, Marini Mersey, quit over several remarks and the PM's refusal to apologise. Mr Johnson announced that the appointment of the two, their replacements over the weekend, the Cabinet Office Minister Steve Barclay become Chief of Staff and former colleague Gautu Harry talking over as Director of Communications. The PM said the pair would improve how Number 10 operates, and it is understood he has considered further changes to top his team. Mr Harry tweeted that he was delighted to take up the role, alongside a picture of him with Peter Capaldi, who played Malcolm Tucker, Number 10's Director of Communications in Satire and the Thick of It, and said he had taken advice from him. Labour Deputy Leader Andrew Rayner called for the appointments a farce, adding their Prime Minister had clearly run out of serious people willing to serve under his chaotic and incompetent leadership. Mr Quartain told the BBC the new hires were a step in the right direction, adding the Prime Minister has been very clear that he wants to reset Number 10. And what we saw this week was him following through on that commitment. He said the government had a serious agenda to tackle, with a potential war in Ukraine, the cost of living crisis and bouncing back from the pandemic. So I don't think focusing on the party is necessary. The best way for us is to get through this. But with increasing numbers of MPs writing letters of no confidence in the PM, 54 would be needed to trigger a leadership contest, including former Schools Minister Nick Gibb. Has Mr Johnson lost the support of his party to get on with the job? I don't think so at all, said Mr Quartain. I've been in Number 10 for 12 years, and in all that time leadership issues have bubbled to the surface. A few people have said they are not happy with the new direction they gave few publicly, but on balance, if you look at the party in the round, I think people are just very, very focused on delivering on the manifesto. The Business Secretary added Mr Johnson has a clear mandate, and we have got to give him time and space to deliver on that mandate. Strong case for a change. On those unhappy with the PM's leadership is Tory peer Lord Bearall, the former MP who served Theresa May Chief of Staff when she was Prime Minister. He told Sky News, my inclination of the Conservative Party would be better making a change, and I also think for the good of our country in terms of trust and faith in politics, there are a strong case for change. But Lord Barwell said he did not think there was a chance in hell that the Prime Minister is going to voluntarily resign. Sir Ian, who led the Tories opposition in the early 2000s, said the parties and the aftermath have been hugely damaging to the Conservatives, and the public were very angry. Asked if the PM could recover the reputation, he told the BBC, none of us know the answer to that question. Respect and trust you have to earn, and when you lose it, it's very difficult to get it back across the board. But he said, internecine warfare should not be the priority of MPs right now, and the government need to focus on tackling the cost of living crisis. It's a bit of a shambolic episode, isn't it? What they, all going against Boris, really. I mean, she's just had a baby. I mean, and his wife Gary had a baby, the second baby. Whole criticism across the board is barbaric, isn't it? All in the media, writing them off. You know what the amount of pressure it is in your family household when your wife's giving birth. Anything could happen to a child, your wife. The whole change of living arrangements, the night feeds, him being a more alleged father, as well as maintaining his job, maintaining the country, and always getting his criticism for a proxy party. I've already had this discussion about that party. It's, when there's like 80s and the 90s queuing up outside the supermarket to get in. Did anyone quarrel over the conversations they had with their friends outside? No, they didn't. They just got on with it, and they still went inside the supermarket, bring that discussion inside the supermarket, waffling to each other, nattering, not rushing to get in and out the supermarket. Anyway, woman pushed to the ground and kicked in Southend assault. Looking at some criminology now. A woman was reported pushed to the ground and kicked in Essex. Police were called to Sutton Road between the junction of Coleman Street and Wimborne Road in Southend shortly after 5 p.m. on Thursday, January 6th. The victim, a woman in her 40s, was pushed to the ground and kicked, police say. She suffered minor injuries as a result. Now officers are appealing for witnesses and anyone with information to come forward, whether it be through CCTV, dashcam or doorbell footage. If you have any information, you can submit a report online or use the live chat to speak to operator between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. Quote reference number 45587422. You can also call police 101 or contact Crime Stoppers anonymously. One more criminology, guys. Essex Police appeal after sexual assault over course of 2 days in Basildon. Police are looking to identify this man. 4 sexual assaults were reported in Basildon over the course of 2 days. Essex Police are looking for a young man who wants to speak in connection with the incidents, which took place on September 1st and 2nd last year. During each offence, a man cycled up behind the victim and the sexually assaulted them over their clothing. Essex Police believe the man is aged in his late teens to early 20s, and is of slim average build. He was wearing dark clothing and was riding a light coloured bicycle. If you recognise the man in the photo, you can call 101 and cite the incident on 4218552521. Please check out Essex Live for that incident. You can also submit a report online at www.essex.police.uk or live chat button function, which is available from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Essex Police appeal after 4 sexual assaults over the course of 2 days in Basildon. So please submit your report if you know of anything. And share it. If it's on Essex Live, so it's well worth a share, guys. I've got to